This summer at FloWrestling, we're trying to figure out the top wrestler at all 10 weight classes for the last 25 years. This is going to give us an all quarter century team by the end of the summer. Here's how we're going to decide the top wrestler at every single weight class for the last quarter century. Every member of our FloWrestling staff ranked who we thought were the top 4 at each weight. Then we added all those votes up and we put it to you guys, the fans. Took the fan vote, saw how you guys ranked those top 4 wrestlers, factored that in with the FloWrestling staff vote, and that's how we figured out who was the top wrestler at every single weight class for the last quarter century. This week, we're going to figure out who the top 125-pounder is over the last 25 years. We had such a hard time figuring this out. And by the way, if you haven't read Andy Hamilton's article diving into the top 125-pounder of the last quarter century, you need to stop this video, go read that, and then come right back because he has some incredible insight, talked to some fantastic voices. You're not going to want to miss what he wrote in that article. But this weight was really challenging to rank. In fact, there were 3 two-time NCAA champs that received votes that didn't even make it into the top 4. Travis Lee from Cornell, he won titles at both 125 and 133. He didn't make the top 4. Nick Suriano, he won titles at 125 and 133, and he didn't make the top 4. And the other two-time champ was Jesse Delgado. He's a guy that's got wins over guys who did make the top 4. So crazy weight class. You've probably already seen it on social media, but the top 4 vote receiving guys in chronological order at 125 pounds started with Stephen Abbas. Not only was Abbas the first 125-pounder to win in this quarter century, but he did it twice. And in fact, he had 3 total titles. Just one of them came before this quarter century. Abbas was a 3-time NCAA champ. He went 95-0 in his last 95 matches. And those were included 2 undefeated NCAA title seasons. The guy was phenomenal. He went on to be an Olympic silver medalist, and he was such an innovator. His style was just so fluid, incredible. His Instagram handle is Abbas Flow for a reason, because the guy moves in ways that, you just don't see. And people have been trying to mimic his style ever since they saw him on the mat. The next guy to make this team in chronological order was Matt McDonough. McDonough was a 2-time NCAA champ at 125 pounds and a 3-time finalist. The guy was a hammer, and he was such a staple for the Hawkeyes over the course of his career. He won a bracket as a freshman that included 2 returning NCAA champs in Angel Escobedo and Troy Nickerson, and eventual NCAA champ Anthony Robles. It was just crazy to see how good he was right away and how good he continued to be throughout his entire career. The third finalist in chronological order, Anthony Robles. He won it just once, but his NCAA title season was so dominant. 36-0, 24 tech falls during that season. I mean, that is a ridiculous bonus point rate. I think during the course of his career, he had 93 bonus point victories. He was such a dominator. And by the way, was doing it while overcoming, wrestling with just one leg. And you really saw that play out during the course of his career. Most of the losses he had were in those first 2 years of his career. And as he started to figure himself out, he was really unstoppable. They made a movie about him that's called Unstoppable. It's got Jennifer Lopez in it. Go check it out. Shane Sparks is in there too. Robles had the most iconic roll through tilt. I mean, when he got your wrist, you weren't getting it back, and he was probably going to tech you. He just was a force and unbelievable. That's what led him to be in this top 4. The 4th finalist at this weight class was Spencer Lee. Spencer Lee is the first and only 125-pounder to win a Hodge Trophy, and he did it twice. As a freshman, Spencer Lee won a bracket that had returning NCAA champ Nathan Tomasello and 4 eventual NCAA champs. Crazy bracket. As a junior, he absolutely demolished the field on 2 torn ACLs. Spencer Lee, like Stephen Abbas, will go on to be an Olympic silver medalist, and he was a 3-time NCAA champ. No surprise, Spencer Lee, one of the most dominant 125-pounders in the last quarter century, a finalist on this list. When the votes came in, there was a really clear 1 and 2 and a really clear 3 and 4. Robles and McDonough were down there in those 3-4 spots. Robles did edge out McDonough. I'm guessing people voted that way because of that head-to-head win that Robles had over McDonough. It was a 7-1 victory in the NCAA finals. And, even though McDonough won a bracket that had included Robles earlier, it was ultimately Robles that got that head-to-head win over McDonough. So Robles ended up 3rd. McDonough was 4th. The 1 and 2 votes were really close. Stephen Abbas and Spencer Lee. Andy Hamilton, I mentioned his article earlier. You got to go check it out. He talked to Jody Strittmatter, who is really uniquely positioned to have a strong opinion about this because he wrestled Stephen Abbas in the NCAA finals, and then he trained Spencer Lee growing up throughout his life. Probably impossible not to be biased there if you're Strittmatter, but he can speak to just the absolutely lightning quick wrestling that Stephen Abbas was able to do, and then just the power and the determination that Spencer Lee has always wrestled with. When it came down to it, though, it was Spencer Lee that won the vote, both on the FloWrestling staff and the fan vote. So Spencer Lee is your 125-pounder of the last quarter century, the first member of the all quarter century NCAA wrestling team, and he's deserving. I mean, the guy was ultra dominant, bonus pointed like crazy, 2 Hodge trophies, now an Olympic silver medalist, and he's just getting started as an international wrestler. Spencer Lee, 125-pound all quarter century team. Next week, we're going to be deciding the top 133-pounder of the last quarter century. You're not going to want to miss that. You're not going to want to miss all the action going down on FloWrestling this summer. Next week is Final X. Oh my gosh, you're not going to want to miss that. Tune in, FloWrestling all summer long. Don't miss it.